First off, I love my kids.
This is Learning to Dad
I'm the cool dad. That's my thing.
with Tyler Ross.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
I'm gonna have fun, and you're gonna have fun.
Welcome to Learning to Dad. I am Tyler Ross, and I'm super excited about our guest today, Susan McCorkindale. For the first time, you can see how beautiful my guest is because we're doing it live on Facebook.
That's right.
So anybody who's listening will just have to take my word for it. But you are the first mom on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So what I know about you is that you were born and raised in New Jersey, but by the titles of your two memoirs, 500 Acres and No Place to Hide and Confessions of a Counterfeit Farm Girl, you've moved from the city to the country. And you've got two sons.
I do.
And presently you're the editor of the Haymarket and Gainesville lifestyle magazines. So you're an autism and mental health advocate. You blog, which I read a lot of them this morning.
Did you
And you're
now?
a great writer.
Aw,
They're very,
thank you.
a lot of them are very funny.
Thank you.
You're public speaking for a long time. You just won a competition to do the TEDx talk.
Yeah.
And you're on a YouTube channel, which
I
I've
am.
watched a lot of your videos on that too.
Oh my God, you poor thing. My kids like that because they can go and mute it. Ooh, Mom. You know,
You
but
just
anyway.
need Mom there. Just don't want to hear what she has to say.
Exactly. They're terrible like that. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, so just to get started, I'd be curious to know about your professional journey. Like you started working, I imagine, in New Jersey or New York?
In New York.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a marketing person, and then I worked my way up the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And my best and biggest, job was I was the marketing director for Family Circle magazine, which was a hoot. I had a great staff. And prior to my getting that position, my best friend had the job. So when she left, I got promoted. And then, during my time there, things started to change on the home front a little bit. My husband wanted to move. 9/11 happened, right? I think before.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely
Okay,
before I joined Family Circle. So he was keen on getting out of what he referred to as the tri-state target zone. And,
And into the blast
and
zone.
into the blast right here. Let's
Yeah.
live near the Pentagon, shall we? God, those poor people. So I was at Family Circle for a while. I was at other magazines prior to that. I had a nice, long, fun magazine career, and also for about a dozen years, I was a copywriter, and I worked on a consulting basis for all different kinds of folks. Like I wrote for, Sunlight dishwashing liquid and Duracell batteries and stuff like that. Yeah, it was great.
So what does a copywriter do?
I write. You write the words that
Okay.
go in an advertisement.
You write the copy.
I write the copy.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
So my thing became, if I could say it in 10 words, I had to say it in 7 words. And if I could say it in 7 words, I had to be able to say it in 5 words because you only have 2 seconds to get someone's attention in a print ad. I did radio as well. That was fun. Didn't do as much of that. But print is my medium. I loved writing print ads. I loved coming up with the headlines or the taglines, It was always flattering when a client got in touch later and said, we're trademarking or registering.
Yeah.
The taglines that you did for us.
That's got
Which
to
is
be incredibly validating.
it absolutely
you
is.
created
yes.
that.
Yeah, that's when you call Mommy. Hey, Mom, guess what I did?
Well, how cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, and so when you started, at what point did you start having kids in your professional career?
Okay, so I was at Popular Mechanics. I was the promotion director there, and I had Casey while I was there. And I remember that I was sitting at my desk late, it was 11 o'clock. I was in New York City. Not good.
Yeah.
Stu was like, put your ass in a bus and come home. But I was wrapping up a proposal. We were going to work with Tim Allen. He was doing his Men Are Pigs
Oh, sure, yeah.
show at that time on HBO, Showtime, who knows.
Yeah.
Anyway, his people were into it. My people were into it. I was putting the final things together, the final touches on the proposal. And I remember that I couldn't even reach my desk. My belly I was like this, And I thought to myself, how much longer am I going to be able to continue doing this? And I shouldn't even be doing this now, Anyway, I had Casey in 1991. So he came along and I took my maternity leave. And while I was home, I was not very good at being home.
Yeah.
So I remember I was at Stu's desk in our little condominium in Little Ferry, New Jersey, which just, no offense, folks, Little Ferry is not a particularly pretty place. It might be now, so don't kill me. But Stu used to refer to it as the armpit of New Jersey. And but anyway, we had a really cute little condominium, and he had a nice little office. And Casey was just this little thing, and I would plop him on the desk, and I would send out queries to all my buddies, in non-competitive. I was at Popular Mechanics. I was a men's magazine. As long as I didn't pitch, Playboy, Popular Science, the Hot Rod, whatever.
Yeah.
If I was talking to Arc Digest or, talking to Marie Claire, that was all cool. And I pitched myself as a freelance writer while I was home on maternity leave.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't particularly, I didn't know what to do with him all day long. What do I do with this kid, He cries, he eats, he occasionally smiles. I change a lot of diapers, and my brain is going to mush in my head. And that's when I began to pitch myself as a writer.
Was that because you really wanted to be a writer, or because you were looking for something to do, because your
I felt I
career
was
life had
going to
changed?
mush.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, sadly, I missed my job. I couldn't get any structure in my day with the case man. I didn't know how to manipulate him. If I put him in his car seat and I tried to take a shower, he would go berserk. I would rush out of the shower. I would have him strapped in and everything, because otherwise he'd be sliding his way out,
Sure.
I was like, okay, I'm not really good at this. Or
Yeah.
I'm lacking something here. And I think it was mostly that I didn't know how to have a day without work involved, like something I could control,
Yeah, sure.
So I was struggling. My favorite part of my job was always the writing part. So I figured, maybe I would pursue that, just see if I got any bites, because maybe down the road I would want to do something on my own. And that is ultimately what happened,
So how much did you have to, how hard did you have to work to sell yourself as a writer, stay-at-home mom, but also a stay-at-home writer? How many inquiries did you have to send out? What was that like?
I was really lucky. So I started getting work right away while I was on maternity leave. And then I went back to work. I was back for just a few months. And my husband was like, Susan, you can totally do this.
Yeah.
You can do this. So come on. He had a full-time job. We had health benefits. Okay. So what happened was I think I kind of just got lucky. I knew lots of people in the magazine industry. And it was all word of mouth. Once you did one great job for somebody, they were happy to tell somebody else to use you. And it went from there. My business began to grow because some of my magazine clients left and went to work for advertising agencies in Connecticut. And all of a sudden, or one of my clients turned me on to an art director who became one of my best friends still to this day. Yeah. And he hooked me up with clients. All of a sudden I was, writing for Redken, and then I met this person, and I was, doing work for Duracell or whatever. Yeah. So it was all, it was word of mouth. It took about 6 months, but once it went, I used to joke to my husband. I'd be like, it's like, like one of those call centers. Operators are standing by. Call Susan McCorkindale now. The lights would be going off. And I'd be like, oh my God. And I would have work lined up on my floor, it was like a conveyor belt. Yeah. And I worked. I worked constantly.
And this is early 90s, right?
It's early 90s.
You're
Casey's
not
a baby.
emailing everything everywhere. You're faxing and you're mailing.
There was a lot of mailing going on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of sending of discs.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Probably fly 3.5.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
But then not too long after, it got a little bit easier. But that's right. I forgot about that. Thanks a lot, Tyler. Now I feel like a dinosaur. Why aren't I wearing my T-Rex socks again today? I don't understand. Wait a minute. You're right. I forgot about that.
The context is so different now than just in 1991, which wasn't that long ago.
No. Now the little brat is 27, so it was a little bit ago. He's a big 6'5" brat. Whatchamacallit? Yeah. So I was doing all that the hard way, like you just said. And Case was a baby. And for a while, a couple of years, well, actually for 12 years, it was awesome.
Yeah. And just to thinking about you were trying to get the work before that, even 12 years, it sounds like if you aren't still, that you certainly were an excellent networker.
Yes.
So what do you think it was that allowed you to be so effective at networking?
I think I followed up, and I got, like I said, though, I knew so many people that I would follow up with them. And, my one friend at Arc Digest was like, call this person over here. They want to talk to you. And then over time, it became the 80-20 rule. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your clients. Yeah. And that's what happened. I had this core group of clients who I always had work from,
Yeah.
and the other business would trickle in, and then they would become better clients, or they would move on, and I would work with their replacement, or where they were now at their new job. So I think that part of it was just, one, you have to follow up. And two, you have to do really great work. You got to listen to what they need, tell them back what you're hearing, and make sure you're on the same page. And then you got to deliver, on time. And it's got to be what they asked for. And it has to be what you said the price would be. I just mean, like, if I'm running into a problem and all of a sudden it's not working, I have to call right then and there and say, hey, you budgeted 5 hours. I got to tell you, I'm 3.5 into this. And it's not going anyplace. We need to have another conversation. Do you want me to spend the next hour and a half or whatever? But you just got to keep them informed. They value that. They know that you're protecting their business and their budget.
Communication, honesty, awareness.
Yes, all of that important stuff.
So tapping back into that time while you were working, you've got one son at home. When was your second son born?
Kyler came along in 1998. He was my Christmas gift.
7 years later.
I have 7 years between both boys.
Okay. And so he's 28 and one's 21.
One is 27 and one is just turned 20.
20, okay. And so you're at home working, writing, 2 kids.
Yes.
So I know, like we talked about, the context is different now, but for any moms, stay-at-home moms now that are missing their career, missing their work, like, do you have anything that you feel like they might benefit from your experience that you'd like to share?
Yeah. I think so. I'm happy. I wouldn't go back and change anything. I set a good example for my sons, and I let them see that mommy could be a big success and, make money, and that was great, and it was very fulfilling for me. But sometimes I think I baby my sons now, and they're adults, because now I finally have time to be with them. Yeah. Like back then, I didn't know what to do to hang out with them. I wasn't naturally comfortable with being the mom. And now I'm so happy that I have the job I have and the career that I have. I get to see my sons. I value my time with them. I'm so, maybe I'm better off being the mother of adult children. I'm better at it. I mean, I don't know. I wish I had taken more time, when they were younger. Yeah. And I didn't. I didn't know how, I just couldn't stop moving.
Yeah. Well, you remind me of 2 things. One is I always think about teachers, like, as people, some teachers are equipped to help a kid get from 2nd grade to 3rd grade. Some are equipped to help them read. Some are equipped to help them get to 11th to 12th. So, like, as a parent, maybe that just turned out you were best equipped to be the best parent as they were older. Maybe. Yeah. It's just something that I think about sometimes. And the other is that's like the point of these conversations, these podcasts, is people who are super driven, super ambitious, and want to set that example. And then looking back, like, how can we try to do both more effectively? Like, I'm sure you made decisions professionally. You say, gosh, I could have done it differently. Or as a mom, gosh, I could have done it differently. So anything that any advice, anything you'd have told your younger self to do differently?
Yeah, I would have told myself to take a breath and that the world's not going to stop spinning on its axis because I didn't go into work one day, particularly once we did have, Blackberries and email and computers. And I would have said, hey, Susan, take a chill, okay? You're sick. The kids are sick. everybody should stay home today and read a book. No one's going to die without you. I wish I would tell my younger self that. I would also tell my younger self, and to any child or parent who's listening, whose kids have those stupid SOLs and all that stuff where these poor babies are stressed out. Please, 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 nobody ever goes back and looks at your grades.
Yeah.
They don't care. No. They don't do it from school, high school. They don't do it in college. They don't care. No one checks.
Yeah.
No one checks. Stop sweating it. I would be sick to my stomach.
The inputs that younger kids have, like between devices and Wi-Fi and the energy of other people and just the pressure from school and all the stress seems so much higher.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's bad now. It's really bad now.
Yeah,
and it was
horrible.
bad then. I remember making myself physically sick. I had to take 2 classes over the summer while I was in college. I made myself physically sick. Like I wasn't going to be smart enough to tackle these 2 classes. And my dad came to me and he was like, I'm going to pull you out of school. I was like, no, you can't pull me. I love school. He goes, you're not acting like you love school.
Yeah.
You're acting like school is killing you. And I was like, good point. And I would tell anybody, don't do that. Do your best. Always, always do your best. Because if it's worth doing, it's worth giving it 100%, you know. But don't. No one looks back. You know, just do your best and don't get sick over it. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I would tell my younger self.
Great. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, so to speak, how about the context of raising your kids? You know, in the early '90s and late '90s, as they were getting older, was certainly different than when you grew up. Did you find an advantage to the type of, you know, the time that you grew up versus the time your kids grew up? Like advantage to them or advantage to you?
Okay. So we moved to Virginia when Kyler was just turned 6.
Okay.
Prior to that, you know, we lived in Ridgewood, New Jersey. And my difficulty in answering that question is when I was a kid, we played outside. We rode our bikes. We stayed out too late. Our parents couldn't find us. They couldn't reach us. There was no cell phone. We got in trouble. But it was like this amazing community I grew up in. We had an amazing community in Ridgewood as well. My eldest has autism. He's very high functioning, but childhood was very tough for him. So unless somebody came looking for him, which they did because he had some very good friends, he didn't do what I did when we were kids. So my comparison is not exactly what I would be saying, I think, if he was neurotypical. Sure. Because he would have been outside, or all of his friends were, you know, and sometimes he was, but for the most part, it was different for him. And then, of course, when we moved to the farm, 500 acres, you know, beef cattle, a bunch of chickens, occasional pig, Clydesdales. We had the luck of really having 2 Clydesdales on the property. They were not ours. We got to babysit them for these lovely people. But Kyler's upbringing then became, you know, there were no sidewalks. The friends were going to come over to visit. They were going to drive. You know, everything here is 20, 30 minutes, right? So his was more like mine in the sense that he was outside and running around and doing that, but even not exactly like mine. I could go anywhere I wanted to. Yeah. I could be in town at the sweet shop, you know, or at the pizza parlor, you know, where I wasn't supposed to be. So both of theirs were different than mine in that respect, and yet I guess to a degree like mine. I mean, you know, both my parents were there. They loved us. You know, we were a regular family, and they of course have had so much more electronics, you know, in their lives, which I'm betwixt and between about. You know, I know that my youngest, who's at Mount St. Mary's, is doing homework lots of times when he's staring at his phone. I know that was happening in high school as well.
Yeah, lots of times.
Lots of times. And lots of times I know that it's rugby, and more rugby, because really, Tyler, I'm paying for rugby. Say what you will about an education. Mommy is paying for rugby. So I get it, like that sometimes it's homework related, but there's so much of it. And that's the difference. Like, I listened to a radio. It was beside my bed. It played out loud. And then eventually we got headphones that could go in the thing. You know, it was totally different. Yeah. I remember clutching my radio when I broke up with my boyfriend. I was sleeping with my radio. You know, we all did that, okay? But it was a radio, for God's sake. It's so different now. And I can't say that I feel like it impacts them socially because they're both super social, lots of friends. So I can't really say anything too negative about it, except I am worried about their reading skills.
Yeah.
I am. I have to be
just
honest.
because they
do not pick up paper, books.
Yeah.
The other day I found a terrific article. I thought both of them should read. It would have been, I think, a little difficult for the eldest, but it would have helped him. They both kind of looked at it. Yeah, okay, we'll get back to that. I said, no, you're never going to get back to that.
Yeah, I guess you got to
No matter what I give them.
Send it.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, have you read anything, like his name, John Krakauer. Those are guy books.
Yeah, sure.
Under the Banner of Heaven, and Into Thin Air. Those are guy books. No, they ignore me. I worry about their reading skills. I really do.
Yeah, I only really started reading 2 or 3 months ago, and I'm probably averaging a book a week for the last 3 or 4 months. And
you gotta read.
I feel incredible from reading. So anybody listening or watching, read.
You gotta read. Lots of reading to be done. It makes you, it makes you a better reader, but it makes you a better communicator.
Yeah.
And I worry about them. Like, I know for a fact that they skim emails and they skim their text message and they miss pertinent information that's right in there. Like, I told you to make a right. I couldn't have been any more, clear about that. Yeah. So I worry about the reading. I do. And my parents, both teachers. We were reading in my house. I can't add, Tyler. I can't balance a checkbook. Can hardly parallel park my car. Thank God you have a regular parking lot out here. I could get right in there, but I cannot add. I can't. But I can read. My parents were teachers. It was all about the reading.
Yeah. Well, you're in the right industry and have
That's
been.
right. Yeah. Well, I think I just gravitated to it. It was all about the reading. If you can't read, how can you study history? How can you study geography? How can you study anything if you can't read?
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I guess
so
you
tough.
watch it on YouTube.
Right. Well, now you can watch it on YouTube.
Like when we watched
and
your
speaking of
TEDx
learning to
video.
dad, that's how I learned to dad.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, well, I am curious to get a little bit more into your life with family. Your son Casey has autism.
Yes.
At what point was it acknowledged in him that he has autism?
He was diagnosed shortly after we moved here. I'm going to say like 2006.
So he was 14, 15 already?
I think he would tell you 14.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that...
Well,
did that like open your eyes? Like that
well, we
explains
just thought
all
he was
these
weird.
things,
Yes,
or-
we were
yeah.
just like, he's just kind of touchy. He's
Yeah.
a little odd. We didn't know. But yeah, that opened our eyes. It explained a lot of things. And we left with what most people leave with when their kid is diagnosed. You're left with, keep doing a great job. That's what
Yeah.
you're left with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, just put it in writing to me what his diagnosis is, because now I have to go back to the school and I have to try to get him whatever assistance I can get him. But it made a lot of sense once they told us.
Yeah. So how did that affect you moving forward? Like I'd imagine it increased your patience level, perhaps.
Yes. Well, first you cry.
Yeah.
You cry because, you just think that your kid's life is over.
Yeah.
And you have been told, he's not going to go to school. He's not going to drive. He's never going to live on his own. He's going to be with you forever. And that's really heartbreaking because what are you looking forward to? You're looking forward to graduations and picking colleges and, all of that stuff. And it made both of us very determined that we would force the normal until we couldn't do it anymore. So Stu coached football and Casey played, and we just made him do normal mainstream things. He had good support in school, and we made him do regular things. We just treated him like I'd always treated him. He was a little odd. Okay, so that's fine. But one day he wanted to drive the farm truck. Stu was like, here's the keys. He could get hurt, but he got in the farm truck. He drove it all around. He had the dogs in the truck with him. Hey, we were becoming farm folk, Yeah. And Stu was like, might just be me, but I think he's going to drive one of these days.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I think, I don't know, it was shortly a year after Stu passed away, maybe 2 years after he passed away, that I watched Casey pull into the DMV, and I knew he nailed it. I knew he nailed it. He nailed the test. He nailed the driving test. He did it. He drives.
And he even delivered pizzas.
He
I
delivers
read in your
pizza.
blog post.
That's
Yeah.
it. My boy, Mr. Papa John's. Yo, Papa John's.
Mr. Never
Something
Gonna
is wrong
Drive.
with my phone. What is up there? Hold on, folks. I'm moving in here to Just say done. Whatchamacallit? Yes, he's Mr. Papa John's, and he's so cute. I mean, he's worked everywhere.
Yeah.
He's worked at Food Lion, up at Regal,
But he defied the odds just
yeah.
driving at all, let alone, earning
He lives
money
on his
by
own
doing
apartment. He
that.
lives in his own apartment.
Yeah.
He goes out with his friends. He has his job. He was at Lord Fairfax for a while.
Yeah.
School wasn't his bag, but he went. He was like, I don't know. He might go back. I don't know. We'll see. But the defying of the odds, though, is all on the parents.
Sure, I believe that.
Yeah, you got to keep pushing
Yeah.
and insisting, and like any other kid, and then especially, any other teenager, they hate you.
Yeah.
They hate you. They run out of the house. They run away. They, disappear. They block you. They can block you on those darn phones. It's like it's not right, So in so many ways, he's not neurotypical. Well, yeah, a lot of ways he is. He's more there. So the autism, people with autism are so much more alike your neurotypicals than most people realize. Where their difference comes in is where their genius is. Like my son is a walking map. He can tell you where everything is. Yeah. I got lost once driving to the eastern shore of Maryland. We'd only been there once, me and the kids. And I was lost. I was done. And Casey was like, nope, I got it. Told me exactly how to get there. I was like, how did you know that? He goes, well, we were here. I said, we were here once, like years ago, okay?
Yeah, that's
He
amazing.
has a map in his head. Yeah. And he can remember all sorts of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so they have their own form of genius. They have their own genius, period.
Yeah.
Each of them. Just, the parent has to find it and then figure out how to use it to the kid's best advantage.
When he was diagnosed as having autism, were you directed towards any sort of resources? Was
No.
there much information out there?
By the
it's
time-
got to be different now, right?
Okay, so by the time he was diagnosed. So he was in middle school.
Yeah.
And the bulk of the information still now is all for little kids and new diagnoses.
Okay.
So you're looking at all that stuff in that huge pile over here. But middle school, high school, and transitioning out of high school to the adult world, it's like falling off the cliff into the abyss. There's nothing. Sure. But there was nothing. More is happening now. Colleges have put programs in place. George Mason, Lord Fairfax's Middletown campus has an incredible club for these kids. Yeah. Northern Virginia Community College has programs in place. Lots of schools across the country are realizing that this is an underserved market. Their brains are wired differently, but that doesn't mean they don't have brains.
Yeah.
And they need and deserve to be educated and trained so that they can be the contributing members of society that they want to be. So many, many colleges have put programs in place, thank you God, because too many of these poor kids graduate from high school and live in their rooms playing video games for the rest of their lives with mommy and daddy going, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Who's going to take over when I die?
Do you anticipate there are a lot of kids older, like 25, 30, 35,
Yes.
that don't have any idea that they are not neurotypical?
Do I think they don't have any idea?
Yeah, or that maybe they know inside themselves, but they're just going around undiagnosed.
Oh, I've heard of people, being diagnosed in their 30s as being on the autism spectrum, and their wives saying things like, I knew that, whatever. I've heard of that. I imagine that there's a bunch. Yeah. I also imagine, sadly, that there are bunches of them in their 30s and 40s who had no assistance transitioning out of high school because at that time there was none.
Yeah.
And they're still home with mommy and daddy who are getting older and older by the second and who are probably worried sick about what's going to happen to them when they die, But it's much improved. Thank God.
How was Kyler when he learned that his older brother was, different than what he was used to? I mean, he's still an older brother and same older brother, but as far as the perception of diagnoses.
I think that, when Kyler was little and he would tease Case because he was little, but nobody else could tease Case. You know how that is, right? When you're the brother or the sister, I can tease you, but nobody else can tease you. Yeah. I think that it's been really hard for Kyler because my husband, Stewie, got sick and he got real sick real fast, and Case while he is the older brother, was developmentally delayed, so he frequently acted almost as old as Kyler.
Sure.
So Kyler saw it as, well, I'm losing my dad, and I don't have an older brother, and my life is coming apart. It was really, really hard, I think, for Kai on both fronts, because it, Casey's diagnosis came right after we moved here, 06, 07. Stewie was diagnosed in 2009. So Kyler was still little, and I think he had a real hard time with it. I think that, and I don't blame him. I think he was, angry at the world. Thank you for handing this to me. What did I do? I'm just a little kid. Mm-hmm. And I think he was scared. And I think that also he did his best to stand up and be as much of a man as he could be at the age of 10, when Stu was diagnosed. It was hard for him. And then as he got older, he and Case would go at it in the house, but outside of the house, at school, or wherever, don't you pick on my brother.
Yeah.
I heard what you just said about my brother, So he, I was proud of him. That's not easy to do, And now, as they're both older, Kyler's friends all love Case.
Yeah.
They want him to do things with them. They want to see him. They love when he comes to the rugby matches. And Case, of course, has assembled his own group of friends. But it was tough. It was very hard on Kai.
Yeah.
He was my little man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately for Kyler, because sometimes you come home and you dump. It's bad. You rush home. Your friends, thank God, they've got the kids or they've fed the kids. You pick them up. You get to the house. I'm tired. I've been at the hospital all day. And who do I dump on? The one that's sitting there listening to me. And I'm like, I've since apologized. I've been like, Kyler, I'm so sorry. He's like, Mom, it's cool. It's cool, Mom. It's all right, Mom. Are
there, for any parents whose children might be diagnosed with autism, or they think they should go have their children checked?
Right away.
Right away.
As soon as you think so, or if somebody, a teacher in school pointed out to us that Case had an issue. We thought he was perfect. Tyler, my God, Casey never spoke. He was like 3. He never spoke. We could take him anywhere, movies, the theater, the real theater in New York. We'd take him anywhere. And he never spoke. We thought we had given birth to the perfect child. Yeah. It was a teacher in school who said, "Listen, the kid should be talking." We were like, "Damn it!" My point is, if you think there is something up with your child, or a teacher says something to you, or a mom who's got older kids says to you, just my thinking, go right away. Don't waste a moment being offended that your perfect child may not be. Go have them tested, because early intervention, hard and fast, is what's key.
Yeah.
Okay? If they recommend, if they give you a diagnosis, autism spectrum diagnosis, don't settle for 1 day a week of intervention. You want 5 days a week of intervention. The harder and the faster and the earlier you can do it, the better for your kid. And then as they age, they will need less intervention. So therefore, they need 5 days a week. And as they grow, maybe by the time they're 7, they need 4 days a week. And then 10, 3 days a week. But you need it hard and fast from the get-go.
Yeah.
If you even think there's something up with your kid, you go now.
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 So what kind of resources are available for anybody, to transition into being, I thought I was a parent, to a typical, to a parent that, has a kid that has some requirements that are unusual? Like, is there any sort of transition for parents for that?
Well, there's a lot of help.
Yeah.
And what's really crazy is the April issues of Warrenton Lifestyle, Haymarket Lifestyle, and Gainesville Lifestyle magazines all have, for the first time ever, the Disabilities Resources Guide, right smack in the middle. Yeah. It was created by the ARC of North Central Virginia, who's right here at the Path Foundation, and the ARC of Greater Prince William. It is this incredible directory of resources for parents, for kids with autism, and a whole variety of special needs, all kinds of stuff, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, ADHD, and more. And in those resources are help for parents, help for parents looking to help their kids. And I'm really proud of it. I'm really blown away by how great it came out, and the issues that surround the guides, all focus on families and individuals right here in Warrenton and in Haymarket and Nokesville who are figuring out, their special needs kids and getting them the best help. But we have resources here. Lots of them. Yeah. And if you're listening or watching, hello, and you don't know where to go, you pick up the phone if you're here in Fauquier County and call the ARC of North Central Virginia. Ask for Marilyn McComb. Tell her Susan sent you. We have the resources. We can absolutely help parents. And it's so much better now, Tyler, than when Casey was diagnosed. Yeah. And we were here. I was like, where do I go? Like, and even I would go far out into Fairfax, into D.C. I was like, I'm not getting a whole lot here. I was like, I better go home. I'm going to go home to New Jersey and go into New York. But now we have stuff. Yeah. We really do. And it's not, take your day to be crushed and be sad and then put on your big girl pants and say, no way, not my kid.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You got to be like a mama bear. You got to be a papa bear.
Papa bear.
Papa bear.
How did Stu handle the diagnosis?
Stu was like, yep, we thought he was weird. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, Stu was tough. He was a Marine, Stu. Oh, my God. No, he expected what he expected. Yeah. And that's what you need to do. You have to have chores. You have to do your homework. You have to, whatever you have to do in your house. Mm-hmm. That's mainstream. That's normal. That's neurotypical. Mm-hmm. You just keep doing that. Yeah. And that's how he behaved.
Is it fair to say that at first it's a shot to the ego, yes, and then it results in unconditional love?
Yes. Oh, it's a shot to the ego. It breaks your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. So, one of the suggestions, and it was a good one, Casey will tell you otherwise, but it was a good one, was that Casey do a program at Woodrow Wilson, mm-hmm, which is actually called Woodrow Wilson Rehabilitation Center. And it taught him life skills, but then he was able to go back and do some driver training with them, do a driver training class. And he hated it. And I can't blame him. The place looks like a jail. Yeah. Like, I cried when I left him there. I sobbed my whole way home. And ultimately, he escaped. He called a friend who picked him up. And when the friend got him home, I said, oh, hello? Really? You drove him home? You can finish his driver training. I'll pay you. But for this, you can finish it. And he did. God bless. And that's how Casey got his license. That was a great program for Case. I guess I always think that it's such a great facility. If only there was money to make it look like anything but a jail. Yeah. Just it breaks your heart, because what you want to do is you want to go pick out colleges. Yeah. And you're not sure you're going to get to do that. Mm-hmm. At least I wasn't then. But now you're going to go pick out colleges. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now you're going to do that. So great. Makes me want to cry, actually. I'm sorry.
Well, let's back up a little bit.
Okay, then.
Let's talk about the catalyst that had you move from New Jersey to Virginia.
Virginia. It's pretty simple. We wanted to move, and we were looking all around for places, neighborhoods, and my brother-in-law, who's Stu's older brother, bought a very beautiful piece of what used to be the Susan, it just went out of my head. Melon property. Right? Yeah. Thank you. How did I do that? Bought a piece of the Melon property. And he intended to move there when he retired. Mm-hmm. And he intended to retire relatively, within like a year or 2 years. And then that couldn't happen. He couldn't do it. The company was not ready for him to retire. And he says to Stewie, you guys are looking for some place to move. I have a place that needs moving to. This is a working farm. At least come look at it, So we came and we looked at it, and Stu's all excited. He's all, and all I can hear is bzzz, moo, bees and cows, and I'm like, "Are you kidding with this? This place is deserted." Like, I work in New York City. I run from anything that I know better than to go into places that look like this. I went to school in New York. You stay away from these places. There could be bad people in there. But anyway, he was in love with it. We actually couldn't get into the house where we were going to be living. I was like, you don't have a key. This is great. I get all the way to this property, and I can't even see where you want me to live. So we're like looking in the windows. He's lifting me up, And he goes, in the living room, there's the perfect wall for a piano. I was like, really? And that was it.
Yeah.
I was like, really? All right, we'll do this. Because, I wanted that. I didn't have a piano in Ridgewood. I had one when we lived in the armpit of New Jersey, but I didn't have one in Ridgewood. And I was like, all right, okay, this is cool. So that's what happened.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law, and he still has this beautiful piece of property. If you'd like to buy a piece of property, I'm sure he'd be happy to sell it to you, Tyler. But that's what happened, and then we moved, and thus began the adventure with the cows.
Yeah. And did you start writing as soon as you moved?
Yeah. What happened was I had started a book while we lived in New Jersey, and when I got to the farm, I realized the impetus for the book wasn't there anymore. But I was blogging. I was like, actually, I was sending home emails. I was sending out emails like once every 2 weeks to my friends up in New Jersey, and I was writing these emails about my life on the farm, and one of my friends one day said to me, "Susan, you should blog. These should all be on a blog."
Yeah.
And so I turned it into a blog, and it went on for a while. And then one of my friends who was getting the emails had gone to college with a girl who had become a literary agent. And one day, Noelle says to Abby, "You got to read my friend Susan's blog."
Yeah.
And Abby contacted me, and she said, "Let's make your blog into a book." Yeah. And that's what happened with that, So
it wasn't set out as a design to be a book.
I was complaining, Tyler. I was complaining. The other night I watched a chicken hop up on the table and take the hot dog out of my kid's hand. I was complaining. I was like, "What is this? Who lives like this?" I was like, "I can't do this." I was fetching, as we say. So that's what happened.
Yeah. So what was kind of the biggest transition for you, lifestyle wise? Like, what sticks out the most is like, I used to have this here and I don't have this.
Well, I had to
Virginia
drive
anymore.
here.
Yeah.
And there are no curbs. There's only like this slide off into oblivion on the side, You're just going to get killed. That was huge for me, to have to drive everywhere into the sun, and nothing is close, another big thing. Mm-hmm. Used to walking out of my office, in New York City, whoa, Ann Taylor to the left of me, food over here, Banana Republic, Gap, more food, it was great, a deli, restaurants. That was a huge adjustment, and nothing was close. Yeah. The driving was the biggest, I think, now, although at the time I probably would have told you that living on the farm was destroying all my shoes. My husband was like, "Why are you even wearing those shoes?" I was like, "Because they're my shoes and that's what I wear." Hello. And I don't know. Everything was so, I was so unsure of where exactly I was geographically. Yeah. Like, I felt like I was in the middle of no place.
You needed Casey in your pocket all the time.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where we are. And I felt like I was not ever going to figure it out, know. But so I think those were probably the big ones. Yeah. And of course, I had no friends until I made friends. That was hard, you know.
So how long were you here until Stu was diagnosed?
We had been here 4 years when he was diagnosed. He was diagnosed in like July or August of 2009. And he passed away in April of 2011. Wow. Next month. Coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That experience, talking to somebody who might be going through that now, what kind of advice could you give to them in terms of like, now you're operating everything. You're the caregiver, your mom, your dad, your everybody. Like, somebody who might be looking at that now, what's something you could say to them to help
when people
them?
Offer to help, take them up on it.
Yeah.
Don't say, "Oh no, it's okay." And in fact, if you can put together a list of things that you need help with, they want to help you, let them help you. If you can, get somebody who can read medicalese and read it to you in English. Okay. Lots of the nurses will happily take the time to do that for you. Mm-hmm. And if you happen to bring and you will bring information home that nobody's had a chance yet to go over with you, if you can get somebody to do that with you. I was lucky. I was working with a therapist who used to be an oncologist. Yeah. And she read everything out to me and told me what everything meant, which was frightening but comforting. At least I knew what we were up against. Mm-hmm. I would say that. And this is going to sound crazy, but you have to take care of yourself. It's very, very hard. You have to maintain your own physical health and maintain your own mental health, which means if somebody says to you, "Can I do anything for you?" Mm-hmm. You have to say, "Yeah, if I schedule a doctor appointment or the dentist or whatever, can you stay at the house or the hospital for a couple of hours for me so I can go?" Because you get sick. I got sick. I got, what did we have back in 2009? The swine flu.
Yeah.
Okay. Stu came home from the hospital. My mom came down from New Jersey to take care of Stu. And my best friend Jen came to the house to take care of me because I had the swine flu. I couldn't go anywhere near him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very tumultuous, the whole thing, the waiting for his diagnosis. He was in and out of the hospital for weeks before we finally got him to the hospital where he was properly diagnosed. And by then I was completely, petrified and exhausted. I got sick.
Yeah.
Very sick. So it's very important to take care of yourself, which, like I said, is very difficult to do because it's on you. You are mom and dad, and you're the caregiver, and most parents are working. I was very, very lucky that my husband works for my brother-in-law, and Doug just came in, and he said, this is going to be taken care of. Your job is to take care of Stu and the boys.
Yeah.
So I was really lucky. I was writing, but I wasn't out there every day, commuting, doing a 9-to-5 type of job. That's got to be hell.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would tell anybody who's embarking on being a caregiver and taking on both parental roles is you have to get sleep. Mm-hmm. The only way I was able to do that was my husband's doctor gave me Ambien, prescribed Ambien for me. And lots of people have funny experiences with Ambien. Oh, I got up and I drove to the store and I didn't know till people told me. Okay, well, that did not happen to me, thank God. But at least I was able to sleep because if you can't sleep, you can't function to take care of anybody.
Right.
You shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car when you're sleep deprived. And you might mess up giving somebody their medicine if you're sleep deprived. So you have to be able to sleep. That's really important. And if you can't, you've got to tell somebody. And also, I'm sure that in the resources guide, I know for a fact there are all kinds of respite groups now. Just tell somebody. Don't be ashamed to tell somebody that you need some help because people, they feel bad. I should be able to do it all. She would do it for me. He would do it for me. You know what? We're just people. We're all human.
Yeah. How'd the kids did they understand what was happening as it was happening?
To a degree.
Yeah.
We didn't tell them everything.
Mm-hmm.
We told them that Daddy was sick, and he was very sick, and we had a great hospital and great doctors, and they're doing everything to take care of Daddy. And we kept them in the loop as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And how did your,
Casey, Kyler?
Yeah.
No?
Did they, I'm just, I want to be sensitive.
Okay.
So I'm trying.
Go ahead, Tyler.
I'm trying to think of a
okay.
question that's not overly insensitive, but just for anyone that's going through that, you had to be mom at the same time you were being a caregiver. So, that certainly impacted you being tired, being sick. So tell everybody to accept help that's offered and things like the kids transition. Did they have friends they could lean on and family and things like the importance of that? Could you talk about?
Yes. So my son Kyler started having 5 a.m. play dates at Wendy and Willie Miller's house because he was buddies with James. They were in school together, and I would have to be taking Stu, sometimes at the spur of the moment, or it was planned, to the hospital. And we'd have to be there by a certain time, or it was spur of the moment. And I would drop Kyler off with everything he needed for his pre-dawn play date with James Miller. So I think it's that the kids have people to lean on, but also, thank God, by then I had so many good friends that I could lean on. Yeah. And I could say, can I do this? I'm really sorry to do this to you. But no, bring them. We'll feed them. We'll pick them up after school, feed them. We'll make them do their homework, blah, blah, blah. And that was awesome. Less of that with Case because he was older. He was in high school. He would come home. He could take care of himself, get himself something to eat. We went through a lot of pizza, Tyler, I have to tell you.
Yeah, sure.
Lots of deliveries from Anthony's. But the boys had, great support from family. My mom, especially my mom, she was amazing. And my brother-in-law, Doug, and my sister-in-law, Nancy, they were incredible. My brother, Nick, came down, frequently to visit and see how they were doing. And we were very well-loved and taken care of. I have to say we were very blessed, to have good family and good friends like that. Yeah. We would show up after the long day. And I remember one of my girlfriends leaving me just this huge bag full of everything I could make for dinner that night, like just pasta and sauce and a dessert and flowers. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. We don't have to order pizza again.
So after Stu passed, and, you know, life has to go on. How did you evolve or change as a parent? Like, how did you find your roles changing?
Oh my goodness. I think that to a degree, I had gotten used to my role prior to his passing. You know, when somebody tells you have pancreatic cancer, it's getting better now. Thank God. I think recently they've like cured like 4 people or something.
Wow.
Yeah. But at that time, that was it. You know, that was the ball game. So you knew that. Not that we didn't keep pushing and fighting and trying, but I think that I knew that my role changed right from the moment he was officially diagnosed. And I think that it stayed that way after he passed away. And I think that what happened to me, though, is I was really strong and focused and determined while he was alive. And I kind of had a crash and burn when he passed away. I panicked.
Yeah.
I definitely panicked. I got scared. I got scared to leave the farm and scared to leave the house. I thought something was going to happen to my kids. And just a few months after he passed away, we had that crazy earthquake.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right? And I remember thinking I had done something wrong to the furnace and that the house was blowing up. And then it was an earthquake. And then I couldn't get, you know, my one boy was on his way home, thank God. Casey was on his way home. I ran to get Kyler. And that didn't help anything. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I had a really hard time after he passed away. The first year was very hard, and I was frozen. I was too afraid to make a decision. Should I move off the farm? Should I stay on the farm? I shouldn't stay on the farm. There's nobody here. I got to get these kids off this farm. And I couldn't move. I couldn't make a decision. It was crazy.
What pulled you out of that? Was there a moment, or is just kind of you worked your way slowly out of it?
It was about the time that I realized I not only didn't want to drive my car, I didn't want to leave the house. And Casey saw a terrific psychiatrist who was in Gainesville at the time. And I thought, I'm going to call this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if he can do anything for me. And I went and I saw him, and he said, Mrs. McCorkindale, you're borderline agoraphobic.
Yeah.
And I was like,
What
so
is-
I am nuts?
What is
Or
that? What is agoraphobic?
You're afraid to go outside.
Okay. Like
You've-
a Howard Hughes
you've-
type of thing.
Yeah, they don't
Okay.
leave their house.
Yeah.
I saw a movie once where this kid pretended to be drowning just to get his mom to come out of the house, and she couldn't come out.
Wow.
She couldn't come out and save her
Wow.
own kid. I was like, okay, I don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And he put me on this great medicine that I take still to this day.
Yeah.
It gave me back my life.
That's amazing.
It gave me back my life, yes. I've always had anxiety and depression. I've always taken something. And I was still taking everything I was supposed to take, but I had come to this incredible impasse. It was almost like a post-traumatic stress, I guess, situation. I felt like I couldn't predict, at least when Stewie was alive, like you can't predict what's coming, but you kind of know. And that's all I focused on. That, you know, and a book, believe it or not, but that was really all I was focused on. And then I kind of like, the book was done, it was out in the world, my husband was gone, and my kids were out in the world. I was like, something's going to happen to them. Like, do we get a pass?
Yeah.
Is there time now? Do we get, like, does God give us a pass? Like, nothing will happen to them? Can I be calm? I'm getting worked up now. And I couldn't be calm. I couldn't be sure we were getting a pass. There is no pass. Who gives a pass? There's no pass. Yeah. So, of course, I couldn't be calm. So I lost it a little bit.
Sure.
And I saw this doctor for a long while afterwards, and I swear that medication gave me my life back.
Yeah.
I remember when it kicked in. I was in my car.
Really?
And suddenly I no longer felt, and this is how I used to feel, like my feet were going to fly out from underneath me and out the driver's side window, and I was going to go with it. That's how I used to feel. Like I was like that. And I didn't feel like that. All of a sudden, I was just driving my car.
You
choking.
Operated with that feeling for
a long time.
A long time.
It was bad.
Yeah.
I think everybody, and me included, thought that after Stu passed away, well, Susan has her act together. Look how well she's done. It's just going to continue. And
Yeah.
I wanted to hide under my desk. I couldn't make any decisions. I was scared.
What do you think? What do you think caused that? Because I know that you talk a lot about love and gratitude and being vulnerable. Do you feel like you were just a lack for those things at that time, or didn't believe that they were there for you?
You know something? I don't know. I don't think it was, I hope it wasn't a lack of gratitude. I certainly, I usually wake up every day of my life, my whole life, being thankful to be alive. Like, I'm a weird person. I walk around, I say good morning to the house. It's very strange. I don't think it was that. I think I don't know. You know, even though Stu was so sick, he was in hospice. We had this nice man, Tom, who would come and take care of him. And I'm out one day in the Mustang that Stewie had. And the Mustang breaks down. And I panic completely. Yeah. What do I do? Okay, talk about learning to be the dad. Like, you call a tow truck, Susan. You have AAA. No, what do? I call Stu.
Yeah.
Tom answers the phone. Hello? I'm like, Tom, it's Susan. The car broke down. I don't know what to do. I'm crying on the side of the road, like on Lee Street, over by where Christine Fox's was.
Sure.
Crying. And I go, can I please speak to Stu? And he goes, okay. And he gives Stu the phone. And from wherever my husband was, he came right back. He focused. And he said, you know, you call AAA, have them send a tow truck. Mm-hmm. I forget where he told me to bring it. Oh, up to the Ford dealership in Marshall.
Yeah.
He goes, you know, it's okay. Go with them. We'll get you a ride home. Okay, honey, thank you. Now, so he was still my rock.
Yeah.
And now I had to call me.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared.
Wasn't ready for it. Yeah.
Even after all of that, like, I wasn't ready for it.
And the kids are calling you now too.
Sure, well, they were.
They always were.
They
Your
were.
mom.
And at least I kind of always knew he was to some degree, Tyler, you know, I swear there were times I was positive he was going to get up out of that bed, out of his hospital bed, and walk into my little office, which was in the living room, which is where I was writing, and say to me, okay, I'm better. I'm taking my job back. Mm-hmm. And you've been banking online. I don't like that. We're not doing that anymore. I mean, I swear, there were days I thought he was going to do that. Like, I expected him. He was putting up such a fight. I expected him to do that. So I think I was just, panicked. You know, he wasn't there. Mm. Okay, he was sick, but he was there. Yeah. And I could still, and I did, obviously. I called him. Yeah. I think Tom probably thought I was crazy. By the time I got home that day, he was like, wow, that was something.
Why wouldn't you be? Yeah.
Right. You know, he was like, why wouldn't I be crazy? I was totally crazy. So I think I don't think it was a lack of gratitude. I think that I just didn't know how to function without knowing he was at least physically there.
Yeah. Let's go into the quick questions. What's the role that vulnerability plays in your life?
It is my life.
Yeah.
The fact that, you know, it is my life. I share everything. I can't help myself. I'm always on the verge of, you know, TMI. I don't even know if I make myself vulnerable. This is just how I am.
Yeah. And you've always been that way,
yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was a kid, my mother would be like, stop wearing your heart on your sleeve. Everybody knows everything that there is to know about you, Susan, and you're easily hurt and you're easily, you know, overjoyed or whatever. That just is who I am. And I think part of it is that, I know a huge part of it is that I want people to know they're not alone. Yeah. You know.
Love that.
That other people are going through what they are or something similar.
So, as a parent, what's a characteristic of yours you're particularly proud of?
That I'm very close to my sons.
Yeah.
Yes. They can talk to me about anything, and they have.
Why do you think they are comfortable talking to you?
Because I talked to them first when they were little.
So it's important for parents to talk to their kids. And
Stu was like, I'm not talking about the birds and the bees. I'm like, oh, I am. I am right now. I don't want to be the mom on the other end of the phone. Your son, oh my God, I'll kill you. You know?
Two boys, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so how did you discipline your kids when they were growing up?
Oh, I'm also a pansy. I'm super soft. Let's see. The occasional timeout. The occasional taking away of the device. Mm-hmm. And I say occasional because I'm really bad at it. The denial of the favorite snack food. Yeah. What else? I don't know. would talk to them. I would say, do you not understand why this doesn't work? Like that behavior, that's not going to work.
It's hard. It's so hard.
It's so hard.
It's so hard. I haven't figured out how to do it yet. Really.
No, I mean,
Just
like,
talk.
I would talk to them. I don't, because the rest of it, you take away the phone. Oh my God, the world is going to explode now.
Yeah.
So I would talk, but like I'm a softie, I'm a softie.
So, as a parent, what's your role for your kids?
I think my role is to be the role model, to show them that you can do what you put your mind to.